Hi everyone and welcome in this morning. Let me see here. Let me change my view. There we go. Is that right? Yes. Welcome in this morning for our first day in the Starter Studio, our 6-week starter series. We have like a really juicy agenda today. When we think about like really getting solid foundations when you're starting. So I'm going to do a quick run through of the different types of people that come into doTERRA, because if you're watching this, you're probably in one or two places. You're either like brand new and you want to start building a doTERRA business. You don't know the lingo, you don't know, like you're unfamiliar with the different ranks and the systems as we talk about different things. So I'm going to be simplifying and clarifying a lot of that. And then there are some people in here that have been maybe customers or sharers for a long time. You want to get a little bit deeper and understand specifically, like, how do I actually build? Like, what does it mean to build or share? So within the Starter Studio, the intention is that this is your pathway to the first, say, €500 in earnings that we create in doTERRA. And you can do that in two ways, and that's by building the business or by sharing the products. And the interesting thing when we think about builders and sharers is that they're doing the same things, except they're just approaching them in two different ways. So let's just think about the three different people that we meet in doTERRA. So the first type of person that we meet in doTERRA is an oil user. So an oil lover. Everyone here is an oil user, an oil lover. We love the oils and we live the lifestyle. Let me just see. I'm just going to work the waiting room here. So it's really living the lifestyle, embodying what it is to like low tox and to be able to make natural ditches and switches. So that's what a customer is, when we think about like what a customer product user is. And then the next person is I'm just going to put you on mute there.
Oh, sorry.
Welcome. No, I know it's hard to know when you're joining if you're on mute, or sometimes you think your camera's off and it's on. So I'm just describing the three different people when they're getting started in doTERRA. So we've got people that are loving the product, using the product, and they're making these lifestyle switches. And then we think about sharers. So sharers are the next category of people that come into doTERRA. And sharers are the people that sit in the back of a class and they think, you know what? She's talking about colic. My sister, her kids have colic. Oh, this person, okay, they're really struggling with the menopause. She's talking about the menopause. So they're naturally connectors. They're people who think, I know someone who would have a need for this, and they naturally and organically share. They can't help it. Like, oils are in their bag, they're at their desk at work, and as they encounter and meet people that have different issues, they're sharing and they're recommending, and they might be buying oils for people like on their own monthly order. They might be making them up rollerballs, and that's what we think of when we think about a sharer. But when we think about somebody who's doing that really organically, what a lot of people do is with that is they build up their own, they start sharing in a real organic way, but in a way that they can start generating income that their order gets paid for and that their oils are free. So they get free healthcare basically. So they're organic, or they're organically enrolling people that they meet, introducing them to the products, plugging them into the different communities, and that's how they get free healthcare with doTERRA. And then the third category of people that we have in doTERRA are called builders. And builders are people who very strategically want to build a business, and they want to do it in a way that it creates an income that might be supplementary to their existing income. A lot of people, and myself included, started in doTERRA because I wanted to have an exit strategy for my corporate career. So I wanted to build. I was like, there's an opportunity with doTERRA, and I was already loving the oils. I was already using the product. I was already organically sharing. And when I started to really understand there was a very real career prospect and a real business opportunity with doTERRA, that was very attractive to me. So there are different people from all different shapes and walks of life that are very attracted to the business opportunity with doTERRA. And I'd imagine that's why many of you are here and watching this video, to really understand the fundamentals of that. So I mentioned as well that like the activities that builders and sharers do are very similar. We're talking about oils, we're sharing, we're teaching about them, even if it's from in a real casual way through to in a more structured class. The only difference is that the energy around it is different and the intention is different. So when I say the energy and the intention is different, we're all essentially following the same structure. We all have the same oils, the same product, but somebody who's building is very structured in a sense that they know where they're going and they have a vision of what they want to create. Whereas a sharer is someone who's like, I just want to casually share this. Maybe they're, for example, a therapist, or they already have a business and they want to bring in an additional revenue stream and include it as part of their product suite to generate supplementary income, which is great. But it's really around the intention and the energy in which somebody is leading with it. So that's just to give you a little bit of context. So really what we're working on in the Starter Studio is helping builders and sharers generate up to that first €500. So what we're going to work on today is we're going to get clear on 4 different areas. And there are 4 areas that you can't really skip any parts if you want to have a really solid foundation in doTERRA. So the 4 things, the 4 C's I call them, are number 1, your cause. So your cause is your why. What's the deeper mission and the deeper reason why you're here and you want to grow with doTERRA? So we're going to be delving into that. We're also going to be looking at getting clarity. So clarity around, like, you know, like if you feel like you're starting and there's just so much information, you're like, oh my gosh, there's like emotional aromatherapy, and then there's this type of class, and then I could do a sports class, and then there's supplements, and then there's this and that. Like, we have such a wide range. Or maybe it's a case that you're trying to wrap your head around like all the lingo, like the PVs, the OVs, the LRPs, the lifelong vitality, or, you know, like the VMG, like all the different analogies that are there, not analogies, but all the abbreviated terms, just the words that you'll hear floating around, and you're like, I don't have a monkey's what any of these people are talking about. So getting clear on some of the, getting clear on that, getting clear as well when we think about like how this business actually works. Like, let's talk about like how it actually works. What are the mechanics of it? And what are the things that are working for the people who are working it? So you'll see different people build in different ways, and you'll meet some people who grow, and they can grow in a real steady way. And then you meet people that you look at and you're like, okay, they're building the business, but are they building a business in a way that's going to be sustainable and a way that's going to be what we call duplicatable? So we're going to be going through that, so when we think about the clarity, we're going to be talking about conviction. So like your level of belief in yourself, which is really important. Belief in the oils, belief in doTERRA as a company, because what you believe you attract. So you're going to hear as well within your doTERRA journey, you know, doTERRA is very much so a self-development company wrapped up in essential oils, because in order to grow, you have to grow yourself. So, you know, I was very, you know, when I started, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do the things. Like, the doing is going to grow the business. And that's what we're all kind of culturally shaped to believe, like that we achieve more by doing more. But really what it is that makes us grow is understanding our inner self. And when we start to grow ourselves, the growth in your business is the byproduct of the work that you're doing in yourself. So we get really granular on belief. So we're going to be like really scratching the surface of that here today. So we've got our cause, we have our clarity, we have our conviction, and we're also going to be looking at cash flow. So understanding the first components of the compensation model that are very applicable to you. So the compensation model is another area that, you know, when you're getting started, you're like, okay, they're talking about all these different things, bonus pools, uni level, power 3, fast start. Like, there's all these different components. And when you're looking at that from the very beginning, it can feel like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to learn this? First of all, it's the lingo, and then there's all these diagrams and images. But really at this stage in your business, what we want to get you confident and clear in is the first 2 components. So we're going to be looking at like how from the very early days you start bringing in cash flow. So when we think about this 6-week series, what I'm going to invite you to bring in, and like when we think about the energy, is that I don't want you coming in here trying to be a perfect student, because when you try to be a perfect student, we get into this space of just trying to learn and have everything right. And no one is here, it's like an oil camp, no one is here giving out gold stars. What I want for you to take away is to have more belief in yourself and to really take what you're learning here and start to embody it. So, not going off with your notes, knowing all the lingo, knowing all the different terminologies and oil education. What I want you to do is to take this, apply it, and start launching your doTERRA business, because you're going to learn in the doing. Like, no one will learn by sitting and reading. It's like anything. It's only when you're actually in the thick of it that you learn. So I want you to kind of put on this crazy scientist hat and start experimenting. So take what you're learning here and bring that into the forefront of your life. So whether that's in conversations with people, whether that's creating your names list, organizing your first class, and then at the end of today and at the end of every week within our 6 weeks, I'm going to be giving you a little bit of homework, because when we think about any program that we do, I don't want anyone to just sit back. Like, we can get addicted to learning. Like, we get dopamine as we learn, when we feel inspired, and that can feel very rewarding. We can have all the ideas, but it doesn't mean anything if it's just staying up here. We want to see you moving and then getting the dopamine from the doing instead of just the learning. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so can I just check, has everyone here seen I'm kind of hoping and presuming that everyone knows and has seen the build guide before. So like the overview of doTERRA as a business in general.
I think I did see it a long time ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're aware of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So, because I'm going to be touching and referencing back in, and if you're watching the replay and you're like, I haven't seen it, what I'll do is I'll upload it into the Starter Studio group, and I'll just accompany a short video that walks you through it, because there'll be pieces in today's training that'll reference back to that guide. Okay, so when we think about getting clear and having clarity in the business, my first question to the people who are here live is, like, what's the most confusing part right now of where you're at? And feel free to pop it into the chat or just unmute yourself. Like, where you're at right now. Is there something that's, like, describe where you're at?
Probably it's hard to get people to actually buy the oils, I think, because of the cost of them.
Okay.
That's where I find, like, I did have people that had registered or whatever, but like the only first couple of months they bought stuff and then all of a sudden stopped. And I suppose I have never gone back to them to ask why. And now kind of with everything that happens and stuff in there, but it's just like, I do share the oils, like a big sharer, but it's getting people in. When you tell them the cost, they're like, oh no, maybe next month or maybe in a few months' time. So I find that's the biggest or the hardest part for me.
So the kind of cost objections when you're speaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay, we're going to be going through that. Yeah. I'm going to write that down as well, because that's really important. Yeah. Okay. Christina, I saw you unmuted yourself and then put your mic back on. If you want, did you want to share something?
I don't know. I'm new to the iPad, so I was trying to put my video on and it wouldn't work.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm a bit of the same with Denise. Obviously, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't have extra money, but I always make extra money for my oils. But that's me, and like I always talk to Louise about this. I have a very like, oh, and even with the hairdressing, I used to be good at selling stuff. Because I believed in them. But I guess I have this block with the oils that people are like, oh, MLM, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not why I do it. Like, I do it because it works for me. And I'm always sharing them. Like, my friend's little boy had like surgery and he had to go back into hospital. So I gifted her some On Guard. And I'm like, I believe in that oil. But when there's somebody around me that doubts them, then I start to put in the like, oh, but I love them. So, and I find they work. But if you don't find they work, that's fine. Do you know that like lack mentality, probably?
Yeah, I love that. And I do you know why I love it? Because I got trolled last night for the exact same thing.
Oh,
Yeah, I did. And it does, like, even though, like, I'm in this business 10 years, and it was basic, just to give you a little context. So I saw a reel, and someone was saying that, like, e-numbers were safe. And I was like, when somebody says something, you're like, that is not true. Like, she's just blanketly saying e-numbers are safe and there's no reason to be afraid of them. And I was like, but e-numbers have like hypersensitivity warnings on them. And I see the difference in my son when he gets some, like, I like, there's certain food colorings that he just goes, he's wired. And I commented like something just that was just like, well, this is, my perspective, in a very respectful way to the person who shared the post. And then immediately underneath it, somebody came in and with the eye roll emoji, oh, she's selling something, essential oils, MLM, right? And I was like, my comment had nothing to do with what I did. It was just like, no, hang on a second, e-numbers aren't safe. So, and that was fine because I was speaking my truth. And that's important to me. But what happened as a result of that comment was that people started liking my comment, and I had 2 people reach out to me. So, and people who I actually knew, let me just see, Christina's trying to get back into the waiting room. And people who I actually knew reached out to me on the back of the comment saying, I saw your comment. Can I ask you, anyway, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but there are people who are aligned with you. Christina, I know you got kicked out there. Don't worry about it. I was just sharing how important it is. Like when you have a conviction in something and you're believing it and you're speaking your truth, that's all you can do.
yeah.
And everyone in the world will have different opinions. And unfortunately, the world that we find ourselves in now is that everything is polarizing.
Yeah. I definitely find since COVID, because I was like the outcast at the time, that it was like my opinion isn't important as your opinion. And my job was to look after your feelings.
Yeah.
And I'd be that type of person anyway. So it nearly made it worse. Oh, don't pull her hair.
I totally hear you. And like, when we're thinking about like any situation, like, so whether it's oils, like even when we think about, like, technology, like your view of the world, politics, everything, people can absolutely go to town and like, really, really clash. And we see that like in a real elevated kind of exaggerated way online because we have all the keyboard warriors. But like equally, when we're in like an individual situation with somebody that we know or somebody that's like, okay, this is really expensive, or they might say something that you're like, like, especially in those early days when like your belief mightn't be as strong and you're not as exposed to like rejection or, kind of like if there's a little bit of debate, it can feel like kind of like it can take you back a little bit. But that's the thing about like being in this business is that like it doesn't matter because it's going to strengthen you. And when we're thinking about like meeting people and they're like the oils are expensive, like I used to think the oils were expensive, when I started using them, but like the cost of the fertility treatment that wasn't working was 10 times more, not even 10, like 100 times more expensive. So when we're teaching our classes, it's not about something being cheap or expensive. Our job is to teach the value of it. And when we share the value of something, like something is only expensive in the absence of value. So if people are saying, this is really expensive, it's a message to you and it's feedback. This is just a feedback loop. It's feedback to you of, I haven't articulated the value of this yet to that person. So for example, when you're sitting there and you're talking about On Guard, I think maybe your intro video, Christina, you were on a plane. Were you going to Australia or something with your child?
Yeah.
You were going to, so let me try, I'm just trying to remember. So you're going to Australia, you had a young baby, you put On Guard, you supported their immune system. So let's think about like what the opposite of that is. And I know that I'm preaching to the converted here, but just to help you see the value of what you have and what you're sharing with that person. You have the On Guard. If you had a child who was sick on your holiday, and I'm sure a holiday to Australia costs thousands. I've never been to Australia, but I'm sure it's not cheap. The cost of not just the financial cost, but if you're there with a sick child for your entire holiday, how does that change your entire experience? It all of a sudden is completely different. And you would do anything, like, you know yourself, when you have a sick child and you're worried about them and you're awake at night and you're trying to help them get better and you're emotionally drained and you're exhausted, you'll do anything to get them better. And when you think about like the price of a bottle of Vanguard, like what, the bones of 50 quid, it seems like nothing. Do you know what I mean? So that's the when we think about the money mindset and the work that we do, but also how we structure our classes. So later in this series, we're going to be looking at like the real presenting. So when we're presenting, it's really important that we're getting across the value of what it is that we offer. So I hope that gives a little bit of, I know I haven't like totally dissected it, but just to give you a little bit of insight. And I don't know if that helps as well, Denise. But
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'm just jump in on the value thing, because like I'll always explain how I couldn't afford my first kit. It went on Noel's credit card. And look at the changes that's made in my life. Like, it's been bloody phenomenal journey. Absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, like I always say, I used to point to the bottle of frankincense that was €75 at the time. I wish it was €75 now. But anyway, I would point to it and go, that one there was €75. It didn't matter how much it cost. If it was sitting on the shelf, it was no good to nobody. But when you start to use them, like a doctor's visit is €60. Your prescription on top of that. I couldn't believe it when somebody told me how much Calpol and Nurofen were. And I was going, I used to think these oils were expensive. They're not. They are saving me time and money every single turnaround. And that's it. And that's why I want it for other people. And people don't buy the product. They buy you and they buy your belief. And like anybody who knows me goes, oh no, she's trustworthy. She'll not put you wrong. And that's true. Because anyone who does invest in the oils, I do want the best for them. And I don't want them to have to spend a fortune on other things. Yes, there's going to be times that you're going to have to give that antibiotic. There's times that you're going to have to outsource to different things. But it's about bringing the power back to yourself and into your home. And that's the biggest thing that we can. Because as mothers, we've gone, oh, I don't know, I better ask somebody else. I don't know, I better ask the doctor. We question ourselves all the time, and our gut is screaming at us going, you know the fucking answer, excuse me, but you know what I mean. You do. And it's even people who will say to me, is this the right blend? What do you think? And I'm like, you've it nailed. You have it nailed. You just needed the reassurance. It's what works for you. And the more you get used to it, and Christina, I'm sure you've had loads of people come back to you as well and go, God, that was great. But you see, there's also the enabling side of things, and you're very generous. And if you keep giving the person something to go, why would I buy it when I get it for free? And that's the same with relationships, anything. Nobody will commit if there isn't a boundary set in place. So it's like my hard boundary now is not buy the kit or fuck off. I'm sorry, because my time is precious. And if you're not all in, I'm not all in. Do you know what I mean? You need to be invested. Anyway, enough rambling.
So, no, but there's totally value there. Like what you're saying, it's not rambling, Louise. So look, whatever way you look at it, there are people every single day in doTERRA, every minute of every day, that are enrolling because their needs are being met. So what we're doing is, in the marketplace, we're providing a solution. People, we're providing value, and it's our job to be able to articulate that. So when we think, even like, let's even break it down to like buying behavior and buying decisions. Like our brain, its number one function is to do what? Does anyone know? What's your brain's number one function?
Protect yourself.
Protect yourself. Okay, brilliant. Do you know what the second function is?
Keep you alive.
Survive.
Okay, so one, protect you and keep you alive. So it's protecting you. That's number one. What, Christina, do you know what you're going to say?
To survive, like survival instinct.
Yeah, survival, that's your first. So protection, keeping you alive, survive, that's your first. So your brain's second function is to preserve calories. It's always going to preserve. It wants to be able to keep you safe, yes, but it wants to be able to restore, it wants to save energy. So when we think about how that actually translates into the world of like consumers and buying decisions, people are always going to do one of two things when they're presented with something. They have to know, is this going to keep me away from something that is going to cause me danger? Or is it going to be something that's going to add to me and add towards something that I'm working towards? And that's what we think about, like when it comes to breaking down that exact, when we're describing the benefits of an oil, or describing the benefits of a kit or enrolling, we have to break it down to, this is going to talk about like this, how this is going to not just save you money, but we have to explain how it's going to save you time, how it's going to save you energy, because your brain is always thinking, how am I going to preserve? And it's one of the functions and executive functions that are in us, because when we think about like famines and wars and different things, that's the way our brain is wired. So we weave that in as well. You'll find that like next week when we're talking about like inviting and presenting, we're going to be bringing that in. So when we think about oils, like how does it actually save you energy? How does it actually save you time? Well, I know, for example, like we had the vomiting bug in our house last week. It lasted 12 hours. There were 3, whereas I know people who it went on for like 2 days. So like things speed up. So when we talk about like time, energy, like what you're saving, what you're getting on the back of it, instead of it just being something nice that you put into your diffuser. So we're going to be going through that in a little bit more depth next week, but also like the objection handling, because it's all very relevant. But I know we've spent a bit of time on that, but just to get back to the clarity, like when we think about clarity specifically, is there anything else that, like when you think about starting the business, is there any other part of it that's overwhelming? If we were to take out the person that you're sitting across from, so like the potential customer, let's just for yourself, when we think about like getting grounded into launching a business, are there any other parts that are like confusing or overwhelming? Because this is the space that we get to tease it out.
Just getting up in front of a group of people and trying to talk to them.
Amazing.
I kind of get tongue-tied and kind of repeat my words, even like for interviews and things like that as well. It's hard.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And this is nearly the precursor to the conversation when it comes to talking to people about oils and the selling piece. Because if there's doubt, and like totally, like to first of all acknowledge, it's so normal when you're starting something new, because you're completely outside your comfort zone, like completely outside of it. And it takes like exposure to doing it a couple of times to really build the confidence muscle. But when you're in it and it's those very, very early days, it can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a deer in the headlights. But can you see how when we're talking about like, okay, the confidence and the belief and like, when you're presenting and you're talking and then when you're closing, how the value of what you're presenting might be skewed if there's fear there?
I definitely find working with somebody, I get along better. It gives me a little bit, like I went and did a thing with Louise, and having somebody there with me, almost I know that's like you can't always have a crutch kind of thing, but it really helps me, like because I'm not good with that, like speaking in front of people. But when I'm in a small group and I'm able to have less judging eyes on me, I work a lot better. I'm able to share anything, like but yeah, I work better with somebody, like as a tag team, and it's something I am trying to work past. But yeah, just for the first while, might be nice to tag someone.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm not there, but I want you to even offer like a reframe when you're saying any things like, I'm not there, don't have the confidence. And Denise, this applies to what you're saying as well. But even in the language, when you hear yourself saying it, put at the end, yet. I'm not there yet. Because that gives you the bridge of, I'm not there now, I'm not there yet. But it gives the bridge to, but I will be. In 2 months from consistently teaching classes and having conversations, it will feel comfortable. It will feel second nature. And it looks easier. This is the other thing. It looks easy when we're on the outside looking at other people going, it's easy for them. But the only difference between like somebody like that's maybe a bit more experienced is just time. And what we want to do within the starter studio and within the series, and that's why I'm like, this is the embodiment, because you'll be exposed to it more. And what happens when you're exposed to it more? It's just practice. there's no way that you can go from like the very beginning to where you want to be. So let's just say maybe elite premier, you're making your first €500 without feeling uncomfortable. But the fact that you're here and like willing to learn and grow through it is all you need. The willingness to learn and the level of commitment to yourself that you're like, okay, I know that this is going to feel comfortable. The things that are pressing me and making me feel comfortable, making me feel uncomfortable they're just feelings. They're just feelings. And I'm not going to compare my chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 40. I'm just going to work through it and keep going. Because it's just, when we're getting started, it's important that we build the momentum, because we get to break through that. And the faster that we kind of break through it, it gets easier. And when you start, you know, when there's the consistency built of like, maybe even if it's sitting down and talking to somebody or teaching your first class where you're sitting in front of 10 people, it's the exact same dialogue all the time. And it might sound like it's coming out and it's real natural, and it will be natural, but everything that we do from the early days, there's a certain element of structure, and that comes from it being a little bit, not, I won't say it's scripted, but there are certain things that we have to kind of practice over and over again, so it feels more natural, it feels more fluid, and it just means that it doesn't give our brain the opportunity to come in and kind of forget things and give a second guess ourselves and leave important things out. But all of that, like what you're saying about like tag teaming, like work, like when you have somebody to work with, that's just amazing. You know, like when you have somebody that's there with you, that's incredible. And not everyone has that. I didn't have it from the beginning, but that's okay. My upline was my cousin. She didn't build. She was a nutritionist. She referred me into doTERRA. She enrolled me, and I was like, okay, on YouTube, like, how do I teach a class? So everything I learned for myself. But when you have somebody that's there that can link arms with you, that's amazing. And as well, you know, it's just when you're building up that confidence, because before you know it, you'll be flying it. And if somebody wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and says you need to teach a class, you'll be able to do it like in 10 minutes. So.
And can I add there, girls, I will travel. I have no problem with supporting you whatsoever, because I mean, it is daunting. Like Jenny came up with me to teach my first class in Donegal. I think there was 16 people there, 11 of them enrolled, because I just went off spouting. It was just, I think, my energy and my excitement for it at the start. And like, that's what they got excited because I was excited. Do you know what I mean? It was like, look, if a Santa brought me. So this is the thing, like, and you do feel that, you know, when you're at the start, and then as it goes on, you're like, I'm so used to using them that they're kind of so part of my life that even the lingo, sometimes when I'm speaking to people, I forget that to tell them something basic like adding fractionated coconut oil. But I mean, like, you're not to be the expert. There's a reason I didn't do an aromatherapy course, because I just want to be known as a mother who uses essential oils. If I put myself on a pedestal as an aromatherapist, everybody's going to go, I can't do that because I need to be an aromatherapist. Or like Alison was signed up by a nutritionist, and you're thinking, oh, you have to be one of those people. No, you don't. You have to be a normal mother who wants to help other mothers and care for their children, and that's it. Don't do the whole comparison trap. Like, none of yous are me and I'm not you. And you will bring in people that gravitate towards you because of you and because of your knowledge in the oils. And we're all so different. Like, I mean, Europe is going through the roof with sales. I'm always amazed at Germany. I'm like, how many more people can enroll in Germany? It has to be massive. And they're just going to gold. Like, the people I was gold with are now presidential diamonds, because I stepped back into, like, I suppose maybe a sense of lack, or kind of, like Alison was saying, the internet became so polarized and so attacking and stuff like that, and we all are like, oh, I don't want that energy. But, you know, at the same time, when you're out doing classes with real people, it's lovely. It really is. And there's nobody there to call you out or whatever. And if you don't have an answer, just say, look, I'm not the expert. These are what I reference. And if I don't know it, I'll ask somebody who does. And that's why I'm lucky enough to be in that gold group in America, because there's solid information in there. And I'll always have that to give views. Like, that's what it is. It's a support network. And, you know, you can tap into, it's like the WhatsApp group. It be on fire 1 minute, and then a lot of personal stuff will come through to me, And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to, post that in there. But it's just having people's back. That's what it's essentially about. Yeah.
So what was it? Okay, so I'm going to move on because I'm just looking at the time here. Sorry, but I love all this. I love this. And this is why I love going live as well. Like as in when we're in a live setting, because we can like get deep into the things and all like the things, the fears and the challenges that that you experience. But okay, so but on the clarity front, and because because you guys have, you're already out talking about the oils, I'm sure you already know about like that we have the framework, and the framework clarifies and helps us stay structured. So we prepare, we invite, we present, we enroll, and we support. And we're going to be taking different components of this model as we go through the starter studios. And I'll just share like my experience from my early days in doTERRA. But when I started to build, because I didn't have somebody who was a real builder guiding me, like I wasn't plugged into a community. Like when I started building, there was no such thing of even Facebook video. It was literally like there was no Instagram live. There was no such thing as a story. It was a very different learning experience. But when I started to build, I just built the way that I thought like you're meant to build. And I was going to trade shows, and I was going to fairs, and I was getting in the car, and I was going all over the country. So my first year and a half was literally just being like a crazy scientist, just figuring out what worked. Now, I still was enrolling people every month because like Louise, my love and my passion and my belief in the oils, like whether you have a framework or not, people buy into that because they can see what you're about. And my experience and my story, because I believed in it so much, was attractive to people. They were like, oh wow, that's so incredible that the oils helped you to do X, Y, and Z. But what I struggled with at the beginning was like kind of scaling. So when we think about like duplicating. So about a year and a half in, I started to really get grounded into pipes. So our model that we use, it's a framework. So really getting in on like, okay, getting structured. And once I could get myself structured, I started to duplicate. So in other words, I started to grow quite fast. So a year and a half in, within a couple of months of applying the framework that we have, that we're going to be working through together, I went silver, gold, platinum, and diamond within a year and a half. Once I started doing it, my first year was just faffing around, figuring it out, getting in the car, talking to anyone who would listen to me about oils. And that's part of the journey as well. It's being that crazy scientist. So even the experience that you've had so far, what I'd invite you to do is take it as learning. That's all it is. You're either going to get what you want or you're going to get what you need. And the need is the lesson, because we're just in feedback loops and you're like, okay, what I'm doing here isn't working. So why is it not working? And it's when we have our framework, we can actually go, okay, this isn't working because X, Y, and Z. And that's why we have this space, so we can figure it out and help you figure it out. So, okay, so what I want you to do is, okay, we're going to move on and we're going to shift into your cause. So your cause is your why. Have you done any work on your why before? Just don't worry if not. Okay. So the reason you'll hear in doTERRA, we always say start with your why, because we can feel an excitement about like a blank slate and a brand new opportunity. Like that's a given when we're starting something new. It's change, and it's, the potential to have a better future than one that if we continue taking the same action, when we continue doing the same thing, nothing will change. And now all of a sudden we have this opportunity. So it's really a really exciting space. But we always say get started with why, and there's a reason for it. Because when you have a why, so like, why are you building this business? Like, why do you want to share the oils? Why do you want to teach people how to use them? Like, why do you want to pursue this as a career to create additional income? Like, why do this opposed to blogging or like taking up more hours at work? Like, what is it specifically that's brought you here? And it's going to be completely different to everybody. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, I have an income need and it's really simple and that's it. But oftentimes it will expand. And my why now is very different to the why that I had 10 years ago. But I want you to take some time out, even 20 minutes over the next week, and figure out, why this? Why doTERRA? Why oils? why is this important to me? Why is this important to my family? Why is this important to my community? Because that's going to be a huge driving force, not just for you now, but for you in a month's time, in a year's time, in 5 years' time. Your why is what keeps you going. And there's a real specific reason for it when we think about like our brain. So I love neuroscience. But like when you think about having a real why, just to explain like what's actually happening in your body. Because when I was told about a why, about doing my why, when I started building, I was really like, oh, it's all right. I'll just get out there and hustle. And I was all hustle culture. And I totally skipped the why until I was like, okay, I need to get grounded in the framework, and I'm actually going to follow the things that I'm being, told are the things that work. And the reason why your why will help you in your business is because when you have a why that is a story that means something to you, it literally gets registered in your limbic system, which is the part of your brain that controls emotion. So it means that when you are growing your business, it's being led from a place of emotion instead of a place of, oh, I have to do it because if I don't do it, I've got someone to, like, I'm going to let Louise down, or Alison, Dari, I have to do this because if I, like, this isn't your business isn't about anyone else but you. So you have to get clear on your why, because if you don't, you can't be self-led. And you need to have, when you're self-employed and you're working for yourself, and yes, you're going to be working within a team, but like you need to have something inside of you that is burning, that you're like, oh, I feel this, and it's important to me, and it's important to my family, and it's important to the people in my community. If that's missing and you're just like, I'm just doing this because this is a model and a framework, like your limbic system doesn't resonate with a compensation plan or a framework. And yes, while I'm talking about a framework is just a tool. Your why is the driving force in your doTERRA business. So it's going to register in your limbic system. It's also going to create dopamine in your brain. So when we think about what is dopamine is an addictive neurochemical in your brain, and we need dopamine to be able to form habits. If we don't have dopamine, it just, we're doing something because we're like, oh, I have to do it because someone told me to do this. When you are doing something that's aligned with your why, it'll create dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone. So you'll go back and do it again. So if you feel like something is aligned with your why, aligned with your movement, aligned with your mission, it feels very organic. And you want it to become like second nature. You want to create a new neural pathway. So it doesn't feel like a headache to have to pick up your phone and send out text for your class because you're like, I have to do this because it's something I have to do. You're like, I'm so freaking excited. Like I'm having a coffee and oil class in my head, like on morning in my house on Saturday. And I'm like, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Like I cannot wait because I'm really connected to my why, and I'm getting that dopamine hit for every invitation I send. Whether that person or not could come, I'm getting that. It feels good. It feels really good in my bones. And I want you to feel like that for yourself, and that comes from your why. And then finally, everyone has a when we think about the brain, your prefrontal cortex, which is like the kind of the CEO, the real logical part. But we want to create like a filtering system in your brain. So when you're thinking about like, okay, this is my why, it means it filters out the noise because your why is important to you. So within the Starter Studio, I'm going to upload your homework, and it's an exercise to help you tease out your why. Because you're like, I don't know about you, but I was like, this feels very deep and philosophical, and it's going to take me years to uncover my why. Like you can make a really great start at it in 20 minutes. And I'm going to give you the prompts. And just follow the prompts and see what comes out into paper and use that. And as I said, it will get deeper, it will evolve. And you might meet some people who have totally inspiring whys, and they're like, I want to create a charity and, like do this. And I want to, and you're like, oh my gosh, like my why is a bit embarrassing. It's like really basic, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your why or what anyone else's why, as long as it means something to you. So don't judge your why. So I just wanted to explain that, because it's a really fundamental part that a lot of people skip. And what happens, do you think? What happens to the people who start doTERRA, don't have a real cause or why? What do you think happens to them?
They fall away. It's not solid.
They just fizzle out. They're just like, oh, it feels, they love the whole idea of something different and something new. And then they They just flake away. And that's going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. I expect that to happen, because some people, they're like, it's not necessary, and they don't see the value in it. And that's why I'm explaining like what's actually happening in your brain, because I want you to really get centered and grounded into like why it's a non-negotiable, and why I want to encourage you not to skip it as a piece in your business. So it's a real functional mechanism. So please do it. Okay, so clarity, your cause, okay, conviction and cash flow. Okay, so just really quickly on conviction, we kind of touched on it already very organically, but your conviction is your belief. So like, what's your belief in the oils, in the products, in doTERRA? Because again, what you believe, you attract. So if you have a real solid belief in the value of the oils, like, and actually, I'm just going to ask it now, but for Denise and Christina, like, do you believe that the oils are expensive? And there's no judgment here. Like, it's just like getting it out there. Like, let's just talk about it, because I prefer you to have it. Let's have an open dialogue instead of like having a belief and being like, oh, I better not say that because like I might sound X, Y, or Z. Like, let's get it out.
Yeah, I do believe they're expensive.
Okay.
Initially.
Do you know why that's amazing?
Initially, I do. Because there's months, and I even say to Louise, oh, fuck, I was doing so well, and then I couldn't afford to buy it. Like, so where I come from when I'm asking someone if they wanted oils is I say, you don't have to order every month, but if you want to order, you can order to gain points. That's what I do, because I get back from my orders. But yes, initially I think they're expensive. And if, like, when I ordered my first thing of oils, I wasn't working. I had just moved back from Australia. Luke was in Australia. I literally had no support from the government, no support. Like, so I was literally just, the oil really worked for me, and I really wanted to get, like, they're in every room. Do you know, like, the kids there's fucking bottles everywhere. Like, do you know, they have their own oils and they fight over them. Like, I just found another one behind a cupboard. Do you know, like, we all use them.
Okay, I love this conversation. I'm so glad I asked. Okay, so the first thing is okay, so you believe, okay, you attract what you believe. So your belief is there, so you're attracting. So like, because you believe something doesn't mean it's true. And that's not to say that what you're not saying is valid. I totally believe it. But it's like, yeah, they're expensive, but they're in every room in my house and my kids fight over them. I wouldn't buy them. So like, let's take the word expensive out of the vocabulary, and let's just think about, like, let me just ask you this. Are they valuable?
Yeah.
If somebody came into your house tomorrow and took every single one of your oils tomorrow, like, tell me, like, how that
Alison, I had a cleaner and I used to take the oils with me. The only thing in the house that I took with me.
You didn't take your passport. That's so funny.
But like, if you were to add up kind of the value of the oils that we have, you probably run into thousands, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have a drawer full of oils too, and some of them I don't use and some I do. But if you were to put the cost together, like, it's a lot. It is a lot.
No.
But like that, every month I do fill my order, because if I didn't get my LLV or the Medicare now, I don't think I could survive. You know,
like a real valuable conversation, because it's like they're expensive, and like they on paper, if we actually tot up, like, my husband does, like, okay, I'll give you an example. My husband walked into our playroom with my kids' stuff, and he's like, that's €50, that's €100, that's €50, that's our playroom is worth. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, you could go into any area or any category and add up all the food in your fridge, all the value of everything that's in your wardrobe. But like, what's the value that they bring you? Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm asking. If somebody came in today and took all the oils out of your house, how would your life look differently? Like, would you be willing for somebody to come and say, look, I'm willing to pay you and take the oils away? Like,
I'll be devastated.
Yeah, no.
So we want to tap more into that. You're devastated, and this goes back to, like, why would you be devastated? Like, what do they really bring you?
If a burger comes in, they can take anything but the oils.
See? There's huge value in what we're teasing out here. Like, they add massive value into your lives. And the price tag. Okay, let's think of something else just to play devil's advocate.
I'll say something, right? So I remember I went away for a night with my friends. Doesn't happen often. Like there was 6 of us, and one of the girls worked in car pharmacy, so she got all these like sample products and stuff. And we were using one of her eye creams, and it was like, I want to say 10 mil, like a 10 mil pot. It was Shiseido. And I was like, oh, that feels lovely. How much was that? And she was like, oh, I think that pot's about €60. And I was like, what? But I would have no, so she would have no problem spending €60 on 10 mils of an eye cream. And then I would have no problem spending €50 on guard. Do you know, where I suppose that's where the context comes into it a wee bit more. Sorry.
You're spending money on what you value.
I'm going to mute again.
You'll always spend money on what you value. We all value different things. And like some people are really into their designer gear. Like they'll spend thousands on clothes and thousands. And then there are people who still who love fashion, and they won't spend thousands, but they'll spend every penny they nearly have on shit from, you know, like cheap quality stuff, and they'll buy loads of it, of the fast fashion, because they value. So everyone's buying decisions, what people spend money on, well, they'll only spend money on things that they value. So so it's just interesting when we think about like our beliefs. So I'm glad I asked the question, like, what do you like? Do you believe the oils are expensive? Yes, I do. And yet that you're attracting people who are like, the oils are expensive. So it's like when we shift our energy and our belief around to, oh my God, this is what the oils bring me, and this will tie in with your why. It means that you're having a very different conversation with somebody, and you're leading from a different place instead of this fear. So like when it comes up to closing a class and you're like, I'm afraid to even say like the price of the home essentials, because I don't want them to feel like it's expensive, and I don't want them to feel like it's pushy, or I'm gonna, like, they've just invested and they're like, oh, I want these oils, and you're just giving them options. And what I love about doTERRA is you don't have to buy an enrollment kit. You can get like 3 oils. You could get lemon, lavender, peppermint, and they can go on LRP and buy like 1 oil a month and build it up. Like no one has to shell out whatever you deem to be, like if you're like, okay, 300 quid is too expensive for a kit. Perfect. Let's think of what your menu, we're going to put, like, what's your offering going to be at the end? You might just offer, okay, look, we do a home or family essentials kit, the 5 ml bottle. So everyone's going to be different. We have to find the thermostat of like where you're at that feels really good for you, real good to your nervous system when it comes to clothing. But I know for myself, I'm like, the best value is the home essentials, because you get your diffuser and it lasts longer. And so there's a space for all of it. And what you're saying is like, absolutely, when you're saying like getting it all out on the table, it's important to acknowledge it. But we have to be aware of our own beliefs, because we project that out on other people without us even realizing. It's a subconscious thing that happens. I hope I'm not going over your head just with like beliefs in the subconscious, but it's important that we, you know, like as in it all falls in under like sales psychology. Okay, so we've got our conviction. We have, I wanted to do an exercise on conviction. I don't think we're kind of running out of time, but I'll just talk you through. Actually, do you know what I'll do? I'll include it in the exercise with the why. But then really quickly, I just want to explain the cash flow, because there are 2 parts of the compensation plan that I just want to walk you through so it's clear. I might even just record something separately where I go into it in a bit more depth. But in doTERRA, we have a compensation plan that has 5 different elements. And all of these different, not elements, these different pillars of the compensation plan really kick in at different levels. And when you're starting, there are 2 components of the compensation plan that are really going to impact you when we think about you getting to your first €500. So there are 2 pillars, and the first pillar is called Fast Start. I'm going to share my screen. Hang on a second. How am I going to share my screen? Sorry, now let me just get this. Okay. Let me just see. I'm just my chargers. Hang on one sec. I'm just going to plug this in. Okay. Will you just let me know if you can hear me okay?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, grand, because I just plugged in my charger, and sometimes, with different ports on your
I had
laptop.
to plug in mine too. I had to plug in my charger too.
I know. I should have charged it before we started. Okay, so this is the fast start bonus. So this is the most relevant bonus from now. So from right now. And what we want to do before we even think about the €500, we want to get you getting your free oils. So when you're doing your 100 PV order, it's paid for. When you want to do your 125 to get the free product of the month, it's paid for. If there's a promotion coming on that's 200 PV and the order comes to 250 quid, that it's paid for. We want to get you so you're getting free healthcare from the very beginning, from the baseline. And Fast Start is how we're going to do that and how we're going to achieve it. So when you're meeting somebody and you're teaching your first class and someone enrolls, I'm just going to simplify this. Let's just say somebody enrolls and we're going to say that their order is 100 PV. So what's PV? It's the point value that doTERRA put on every product. So it's around 100, a PV is in around €1. So if somebody enrolls with a 100 PV order, you earn 20% on that order and on any order that they place in their first 60 days of being in doTERRA. So let's say you place an order, they do an order for 100, you get 20%. Make sense? I'm just rounding to 100 just for maths. But when we think about, a home essentials kit, or we think about any other orders that are €200, obviously that's more. So, when you're enrolling with home essentials kits or, anything that's, I suppose, let's just say home essentials kit, you're looking at like kind of 40 to €45 per commission in your enrollment. Okay, so that's your 20%. So let's say you have taught your first few classes. You have a friend who is really interested in doTERRA. You're like, okay, if you'd like to host a class, if you'd also like to share the oils to get your oils for free, you can enroll. So let's just say you enroll your friend Mary. Let's say this is Mary. And Mary enrolls somebody. Mary gets her 20%. But because you've put the time and effort into helping Mary teach her first class, doTERRA gives you 10% of what of that order. So Mary gets 20%, you get 10, and your enroller gets 5. So it goes 3 levels up. So what happens is the more people that you enroll, obviously that expands, and that's where you're looking at how you're filling up your, that's how you're paying for your oils in the early days. And the earlier that you have people that are working with you, the earlier you're getting that 10% as well as your 20%. So Fast Start can be really, really lucrative if you're a strong enroller and if you know how to onboard people and teach, other people how to enroll. So when you do that from the very early days, you can really do very well on Fast Start. So if you have a strong close rate, if I know Louise is on this call, and I know Louise was you were always a really strong enroller, Louise, because you had that energy and the fire, and your belief was huge and your why was huge. And I know even when I think back to that time, you're like, I don't know, I'm just going, and it was infectious and it was magnetic, and that Fast Start is the bulk of how you get paid in those early days. So you're getting your oils for free. Okay, I hope that's clear. Any questions on that? No? Okay, so the next component, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is called the power of 3. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So first of all, the Fast Start, I should have mentioned, is paid every week, and the power of 3 is paid every month. So what the power of 3 means is, this is you, and you're placing your monthly order, it's 100 PV or more, which means that you qualify for commission. So you have to place an order of 100 PV a month to qualify for your commission. And let's just say you have, so this is what it looks like. So when you start enrolling your customers, they're just all underneath you. They just kind of go across here on this one line. You have a choice kind of as you grow, you can move them around kind of like a jigsaw puzzle around your organization and around your teams. But this is basically what it looks like. And when we see this here, see the way it says LRP pod? So when you have people, when you have customers who are on the LRP, so the loyalty rewards program, when you have people that are on that loyalty rewards program, when the total of all of their orders adds up to over 500 points. So let's just say this person has an LRP of 125. They want to get the free product of the month. 125, 125, 125. That all equals 500. Then you qualify for a €45 bonus. Now that doesn't mean that everyone has to do an order of 100. You could have 10 people placing 50 PV. So it doesn't matter. It can be people placing 2 PV. I don't even know if there is anything for 2, but like, you know what I mean? Something like a lip balm, and you can have somebody who, like, there's plenty of people that do 200 PV orders. There are plenty of people that do more. So as long as that reaches 500, you qualify for a €45 bonus. So that's your power of 3 pod. Now, when we think about getting to that €500, just to explain really quickly, but what happens is as you grow out your team and you meet people who are sharing and they believe in what you're doing, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to teach a rollerball class. Like, I see how this is so important that I teach other parents how to use this. Or maybe they're, they come from they have a different interest and they want to do a different workshop. When they start teaching their classes or enrolling people, they're creating their own as well, if you can imagine. It's just duplicating down. So when you help 3 people achieve their 500 pod, you get a €215 bonus. So you're basically just duplicating what you've done, except down. And that can happen, when you're looking at, okay, I'm helping people get their oils, I'm helping them get enrolled, and I'm helping them get started on their loyalty rewards program. So they're getting oils for more value, they're getting points back. That's when you can make a huge impact. And that's what really shifts up and helps you achieve your €500 faster. So if you can think about it, so you've your €215 bonus, and then you've, let's say, your fast start. If you're enrolling a couple of people every month, straight away you're up on, kind of up to €350. And then there's a way that you can double this. So see this €215, and we call it, there's a power 3 boost. So you can double your payout. So how you double it is that, let me just go past this. Sorry, I took these slides from corporate's presentation. Okay, so I don't have it there. So basically, when we think about this, so the way there's 500 of your customers there, but this is 500 of someone else's customers, and this is 500 of somebody else's, and this is 500 of somebody else's. What doTERRA are trying to do is they're trying to encourage you to always be continuously bringing in new customers, and not relying and becoming dependent on other people to build the business. So what doTERRA can do, or what doTERRA has brought in, is this brilliant thing called the power of 3 boost. So when you have brought in new customers over the last 12 months and the total volume is 800, doTERRA double this bonus. And it means that your bonus is doubled, and that's what helps you get up to your €500 a month. And you can achieve that when you're even at a rank of elite. So the power of 3 alone will bring up your earnings up to €430, and then you add on your fast start on top of it, and then you get other perks and bonuses as well. But that can be achieved in the really early days. So I hope that just gives you a bit of insight into how from the early days you start generating income and getting your orders paid for. Questions? And it's okay if it's not landing now.
I'm just clarifying that those customers have to be on LRP.
Yeah, yes. So the purpose of it is that we're teaching people how to get the full value out of their account. And it's great because that's what we think of when we're thinking about when we're getting paid passively. So, the beautiful thing about residual and passive income in doTERRA is that, yes, you build up an asset and a business, but also even though you've got your asset and your business built up, if you need to take time away, doTERRA continue to pay for you, or continue to pay you every month. So, you know, when you, like, I don't have to reach out to Louise every month and say, hey Louise, just wondering, like, what are you ordering this month? Or just, like, Louise loves her oils, she uses her oils. And because Louise is self-sufficient, and like Louise, like, I know you're obviously, you know, you've been in this business, but like, there are so many customers like Louise who love their oils and place an order every month, no more than yourself, Denise and Christina, you know, absolutely love their oils. So you don't have somebody, you don't need somebody to be kind of knocking on your door. You know, like, you're self-sufficient, you know when you're running out, and you know how to use your account, and it's easy to do it, and you get points back. And so Louise isn't showing up to work, I'm not showing up to work, but there's the payment that still happens in the background, and that's how you can create really robust and solid residual income. And that Power 3 is amazing. It's an amazing way to be able to do it. You know, and in a way that you can do it early on. Like, you don't have to wait until you're hitting like big leadership ranks. Like, anyone can do it. And what it takes is being good at teaching classes, enrolling, and supporting. And through the support, that's how people end up wanting to going on the loyalty rewards program, because they're like, God, like, that's, you got those for free. Like, you got that for free this month. Like, you buy oils, but you get self-care for free. Like, how does that work? So, and that comes out from conversation. So, how's all that landing? I totally fire hosed you at the end with the compensation. I probably should have started with that, with the fresh brains.
You know, it was great. Yeah, getting all the information again. So it's kind of putting it into play now.
Yeah. So I have homework for next week. Every week I'm going to be giving something. Like I said, no one's here expected to be like a star student, but it's your business. So it's up to you whether you do it or not, but I hope that you do. But number one is, there's the why exercise. The second thing, that's part of your homework, and I'll have a post up about it. The second piece of the homework is to create your names list. And there's a really great document that I'll upload into the group as well that helps you with that, just to help kind of like tease out. So we think about names lists, like people who are in your network. This is network marketing. And like Christina said, like, it's easier having a conversation with people who are, you know, who you know and that are already like your warm market, instead of just coldly going out into the internet and just hoping that someone sees you and you know, completely different energy. So we're going to just get on paper, take it out of your head onto paper, and create that names list. So there's your why, there's your names list, and also to look at your calendar and set a date for teaching a class. Whether that's having 3 people around your kitchen table, whether it's 10 people, or even if it's a case that you're looking at an event, because I know that you live quite close to Louise. Well, I presume that you're all Donegal, but like, thinking about, okay, Louise is an event on the 17th, who can I bring to that? So like, looking at other events that you can bring people to, you know, but that's kind of what I'd love to see you do, is just get that first class so you can practice the class. And it's not like that you have to be perfect and know it all off by heart. Tell people, like, this is my new essential oil business. I'm really excited about it. I'm nervous. I would love you to come. Like, the oils are amazing. You're going to be able to experience them. So anyway, next week we're going to be getting into the inviting piece, like how to be really good at inviting, because the better quality of your invitation is the better quality, is, you know, it means will influence whether you have more bums and seats or not. But yeah, so having your names list, setting the date, and doing your why. So I'll spell it all out in a post. How's it all landing?
Sounds good, yeah.
Thumbs up from Christina.
I just want to say, I don't know if you've it in your starter studio build out or whatever, but the strengths, the Gallup strengths test was the biggest insight into me that I ever had. It really was. So it's about, I don't know if it's 50, 60 euro to do, and you answer a series of questions, blah, blah, blah. But there's like a 1 to 35 of different strengths that you have. Like, what the fuck is, I can't even think. Is my number one relator? I can't think. I think it is relator, right? So I can relate to people on a lot of different levels. Even if I don't even see their point of view, I can still relate to how they feel and whatever. Coming back, so that's how I got me number one. Number two is adaptive. I am every day is a surprise. I can kind of move. I'm not a person who has to have a structure of sorts. But I think number 33 is competition. I haven't a competitive bone in my body, and I will never compete against another person, but I will not even compete with me, but I like to better myself for me. But if you says to me, I'll race you, I'll go, you win. I have no interest in, that sort of thing. But like the top five strengths, especially responsibility, I think is my number five. But I have to balance responsibility because if I take on too much, it tips me over the edge. It gets you to know you so much better. And it gives a real insight into how you tick and how you do things. And even doTERRA will look at you if you're heart-based or head-based, if you're futuristic or if you're just a communications and heart-centered person that likes people. And a lot of my traits are heart-centered. So they prefer heart-centered people because they know what comes from a good place. But it's very, very interesting. Just it's well worth doing as well for anyone.
Is that like the human design type thing as well?
No, well, human design's another thing, and Alison's a big fan of that, and so is my sister Diane. But Diane also, she went into companies and completely reshuffled them. That was her job based on their strengths because people were in wrong areas altogether. It was killing them inside being in accountancy when they were a people person and needed to communicate. Do you know? And she would have reshuffled companies and the companies would have thrived with it. It was Campbell Arnott's in Australia and America and India. And that's where she was sent. A lot of it based on Gallup strengths. And now she brings in human design and stuff like that. But the more you know you, the easier it is. And that's what Alison said about it being a self-development company wrapped up in essential oils. My God, the tangents I have gone off on and the people I have met through this is phenomenal. And you will meet more and more people the more they come into your network. Like if you look, mine's full of nurses, reflexologists, holistic practitioners, healers. Like, and I'm like, what a good community to have. There's people there that to outsource to acupuncturists. It's phenomenal how you can tap people in to go, I can't help you with this, but I have a downline, Christina, who knows all about reflexology. I can send you her way. Denise has had her own fertility journey. I'm going to send you Denise's way. And this is how it works because it's outsourcing the strengths to where you have it, if that makes sense.
So like just as well, just on human design, just to maybe explain, not even explain, like the way Louise summed it up, but like just the difference in like how it assesses you. So like when you're doing your strengths assessment, it's like it asks you the series of questions, and based on your responses, it'll categorize you in somebody who is very strategic. You might have a theme, so we call them themes. So you could be strategic, you could be an influencer, you could be I can't remember the other. But anyway, so you're in within different themes. But your strengths are only strengths when you work on them. So like you naturally are talented, so it's a real easy way to be able to tap into your style of building your business. And we will be looking at it more down the line with the Starter Studio. So that's strengths. But then just because you asked about human design is more so like astrology. So it's like you don't have to do a test. Your date of birth, your time of birth, the way the zodiac was positioned at the time you were born will give you the raw material, the energy of your body. So it's like you can look at, and you'll find that there's parallels and similarities and overlaps between your human design and your strengths. You're like, oh, well, that's where my activator in human or in my strengths comes from, because I have this is an open gate within my human design profile. So it's one of them is kind of like it's based on a mental kind of I won't say an aptitude test, but a test. And then the other one is just like you're just like imprinted with that. That's your personality from when you're born. But we can be taken away from our natural personality because we might try to fit in with society. So whichever you're into, like they're both amazing. They're all just modalities to help you get to know yourself more so you can really let your natural strength shine. That's really what the bottom moral of the story is. But strengths a little bit further down the line within the starter studio. But really at this point in time, I want you to just experiment. Just from doing, you'll get to know yourself. And then you'll be taking your strengths test later on. So that's us for today.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
There's a lot in that.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining.
See you later.